y'all, Jim Pankey here with another banjo tip. You've been playing your banjo a while and you're just not excited about the way it's sounding. And there's some things that you can do. Maybe it's just you, but it could be time to change your strings. When did you change your strings last? I wind up changing my banjo strings every 2 or 3 weeks. And you're saying to yourself, 2 or 3 weeks? Gosh, I've had my banjo for 6 months and I haven't changed them yet. Then it might be time for you to change your banjo strings. And I get a lot of questions. How do I know when it's time to change my strings? And there's a couple of things. For me, the big thing is I notice my 4th string starting to sound a little dull. Sometimes it'll sound as dull as, it'll sound kind of dull. You want it to be fairly bright. And another thing is feel. Sometimes after your strings have been on here a little while, they get a little rough feeling. What that rough is, that's probably rust. They're made of steel, and so they could be ready to be changed. Another thing, sometimes when strings get old, they don't stay in tune good, or you have a hard time getting in tune. And that's because as the strings vibrate, they get work hardened. You know, if you take a paper clip and you bend it, it's flexy, and then eventually it breaks. And that's what happens with strings. After they vibrate a bunch, they get work hardened, they get stiff, and they don't want to hold tune, or they don't want to even tune up. And so we're going to do a quick little string change, and I'll show you how I deal with that. And something that you can do right in your living room. Sometimes I sit on the floor, sometimes I sit in a chair, but it's a simple process. So just going to show you how we go about it. So you need banjo strings. I personally use a light gauge set of banjo strings. That's a 9 on the 1st string. I like 9s. That's just kind of my thing. So that's what we're going to use. So I'm going to change a couple of these, show you how that works. You don't need your picks. So the RK35 here comes with a Presto tailpiece. So all you do is you pop that up. It lets you have access to this. I just start by loosening a string. We're going to do the 5th string, and it is, I'm going to show you something. When you get a new banjo, a lot of times new banjos will come with this fancy little doohickey on the 5th string. It's just a piece of protective stuff. You don't need it. Throw it away. It's of no use to you. You can save your old strings if you want. I usually just wind them up. I've had friends that saved them for decades, and they wind up with a big string ball. I don't save my strings. So we take a brand new fresh string, unravel it. Be careful with it. Don't kink it. You don't want to bend it. So be careful with it. We hook it on that loop. There's a hook. So the string has a little loop, and I don't know if we can see that on camera or not, but the string has a loop, and we just hook that loop on the hook in the tailpiece. It comes across the top, and then the front of the tailpiece has, you go under that part. I hold some tension on it. I usually just take my arm and hold tension on it. That way it doesn't slip loose. And then we'll string up this, get the hole where I can see it. So if this happens, and this is something that can happen to you, this is okay. This is typically held in by friction. So we're just going to put it right back in, kind of the way it was. We're going to pretend like that never happened. It's okay if it becomes a problem, you can take and put a small dot of glue on it, and that will. But I don't even recommend that. Friction will hold that in place. So don't panic if that happens. I have a string video. If y'all want to watch that, we can post a link to that process of how I go about it. And now we are We got our 5th string, and we just tune up. And we get it close, and then let's change the 4th string. Same process. Just wrap these up at the end. Nice and neat, makes it easier to go in the trash. Again, I'm just going to place my arm on here to hold some tension, and then we'll start our 4th string. All right, so one more thing that we can do. I'm going to do one more string, and I'm going to show you something. I've got a pencil here. One of the things that can help you with tuning is when you're putting a new string on your instrument, and the way this 3rd string works would be good for y'all to see too, because it's a little different. But I've got a pencil in my hand because, well, I feel like I need to hold things while I'm doing other stuff, but no. I will take pencil, just a graphite pencil. I use a carpenter pencil because I'm not going to lose this. And I just take and I mark in that nut slide just a little bit. It doesn't take much. And then you can take your finger and smooth it off, make that nice and pretty again. And that way the string will slide through the nut better and won't be quite as, it'll be easier to tune. And it'll stay in tune better. On the 3rd string on the Presto tailpiece, you got to go through this little hole. So what I like to do is I take my string and I just pull my thumbnail across it, and it'll make it curl just a little bit. And that way, when I put it through here, I can grab hold of it a little better, I think. Well, I said, there we go. And again, loop around the hook. Try to center it up in that hole. It's not all that important, but it just looks nice. Again, I'm going to put my arm on it, hold some tension to it, and then we're going to put Now, we could go ahead and change the other 2 strings, but, and we would change them all. When you're done back here, close your tailpiece, and then we need to trim off these loose string ends. Just standard wire cutters to do that for you. Trim them close, but not, be careful not to cut what you don't want to cut. I have to loop these, y'all. That's just how it is. That way everything stays nice and neat. Cut the strings off, and then we're going to retune. And so we would do that for all 5 strings, and that gets you set up and tuned. So let's get my picks, and let's get tuned up. There's a variety of apps that you can get for your phone. You can get a clip-on tuner. There's all sorts of things. I'm just going to use my phone. I've got my phone with me. It's something that I probably use the tuner on my phone more than any. So I'm just going to use a tuner and just tune up. And I'm just trying to get close. Once I get close, I will grab my strings at the 12th fret and pull them. Just pull them. You're not going to hurt them. Just pull on them. And then I tune up again. Notice how that went flat. And now we're mostly in tune. Sometimes when you change your strings, if you're like me, and the very first time I ever changed strings on my banjo, I took them all off. Don't do that. Don't be like me. You're going to do them one at a time. That way your bridge stays in place. But even in the process of just everyday banjo playing and use, your bridge may move. So it's a good idea to check it. What I like to do, here, I will use my tuner, and then I will hit a string open and get in tune. So my first string, and that's pretty much in tune. And then I will fret it at the 12th fret, which should also be a D. And if it's, so that D, I'm rolling sharp on my tuner. This D, I'm rolling a little flat on my tuner, which tells me my bridge needs to move forward. Just that much. Just that much. I didn't move it much. So we're going to tune again. So now I'm definitely sharp there. So now it's in tune. And now it's in tune at the 12th fret. I usually set my bridge straight. You could check your third string. And then check your third string at the 12th fret. And it'll usually be, almost always, it's going to be a little sharp to whatever you set your first string to. You can actually angle your bridge. I don't like to do that. But if you're okay with angling your bridge a little bit, now we've got our third string in tune. And so your third and first strings will be in tune. Your bridge is slightly angled, and that's okay. That's a normal situation for your banjo. So if that helps your ear like the way your banjo sounds, especially when you're playing up the neck, this is really going to matter. You know, back here in Cripple Creek land, this doesn't really, it's noticeable, but not as much as soon as you start traveling up Cumberland Gap, Lonesome Road Blues, Sally Ann. As you travel up the neck, you will definitely notice that the bridge position is super important. So that's pretty much the process that I go through when I change some strings. Hopefully that helps. Thanks for watching, y'all.